And what we're going to be discussing today is energy management and all those great questions that we get around grounding our energy and clearing and raising our vibration and all those wonderful things. And before we jump into that and welcome our guests that are joining us live or maybe listening to this later as a recording, I'd just like to say I'm a certified spiritual teacher as well as a past life regressionist who trained with Dr. Brian Weiss and an author. And my website is wendyrosewilliams.com. And my pleasure to welcome Gregg, who's also pushing all the buttons and doing all the technology piece here. So Gregg,
as you speak,
thanks for kicking us off and getting us started also with a wonderful protection ritual that just helps us raise our vibration.
Yes. So just a quick introduction. I'm Gregg Kirk. I've been a healer of basically an energy healer for about 2 decades. Started off in Reiki and have branched off into some modalities that I've developed on my own through the use of some tuning forks for in-person sessions, but also remote sessions that involve past life regressions, kind of spontaneous ones, entity removals, blockage removals, chakra balances, all that kind of stuff. So it's always a good thing to do when we talk about such things to protect what we're going to discuss today, and just to bring in what's the best for all of our interests in this discussion today. So if I may, I will start with, I would like to invite Archangel Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, all the guides, guardian angels, healing entities, and non-physical beings who have all of our best interests in mind. And we'd like to provide protection, guidance, and healing for this discussion today. We'd like to establish that all of us in participation are sovereign beings practicing free will. We do not give permission for anything or anyone to enter our fields or our bodies without our consent. And we do not allow the mingling of our energies during this session. We'd like to thank all of our guides very much and have a great discussion. Thank you.
Okay, well, again, welcome. We're just happy to have you here. And if you're participating via Facebook Live in the Waking Up Spiritually group, you're welcome to put in questions and comments there, and Gregg and I will get there to those in a moment. And if you're in Zoom with us, you're welcome to stay there, or you can zip on over to the Facebook Live in the Waking Up Spiritually group. And I just want to comment that learning how to manage my energy, it's been life-changing for me. Once I learned that concept, and it's helped me improve my health, it's helped me feel happier. It's just done so many positive things for me. And people often have questions, what does that really mean? So let's get into that a little bit. Some of the ways that I see of managing my energy are to ground my energy, meaning to ground to Mother Earth. Because guess what? We chose to be here in a human body at this time, and being able to ground our energy and meaningfully connect to a gracious Mother Earth that allows us to be here and provides us with everything that we need is just a big deal. So I do that every morning. And I just visualize my energy coming down from my body, starting up with my crown and coming all the way down through my body. I ground from my sacral chakra, which is across my hips, because I'm a female, and males often ground from the root chakra just below that. And then send that energy down both your legs. And remember to activate, there's something called the joy taproots on the bottom of your feet, on the soles of your feet. And you may not have known those existed, or you may not have known that there's something called the Earth Star chakra, kind of right about the ball of your foot. So you can just feel those nicely grounding to the earth as you send your energy down. I send my energy down to the magnetic core of Mother Earth. And I believe that's where the fountain of youth energy is. So go ahead, be greedy, bring some up for yourself. I like to do a bucket brigade, just have fun with it. I just take like a little key. I picture a skeleton key for myself, and I turn that key and ground my energy and lock in to that magnetic core of Mother Earth. And that way I just feel supported all day. I don't feel like up in my head too much. I don't feel like I'm in my ego or my like thinking brain where I'm like having to struggle to figure things out, nor am I quote kind of airy fairy where I'm like up above my head, connecting up with the divine too much. It's just balancing for me because I'm someone that needs a lot of grounding because otherwise naturally I am up above in those upper chakras. So that's how I ground my energy. Any comments on that, Greg? There's so many ways to do it. They're all what's right for you.
Yeah. So I do similar things. I mean, probably the best thing that I noticed, actually, I'd like to start all the way back with identifying actually the need to do this. Okay, so
Perfect.
yeah. So anyway, the point. Let me cut to the end of the the punchline, which is yes, I actually do a practice, and I know Wendy and you and I will talk a little bit more about doing a practice which can help protect and keep your energy clear. But the need to do it was I started noticing just unchecked, I was losing energy. I could feel I was losing energy. It felt like a physical fatigue, but also hard to describe spiritual fatigue that was going on with me years and years ago. So I basically went to some healers to help clear. There were some entities that were on me and so forth. And then as I started to do healing myself, I wasn't doing a proper protection ritual during the sessions, and I would take on other people's pain. So this was clear and easy to identify. Somebody would come to me and say, I've got back pain. And we would do a remote session, and in the middle of the remote session, I would take on the back pain in that exact point of where the person had it. And then when the session ended, I would have back pain for like a day. So just understand that if you are noticing these kinds of things, probably, most everybody listening here is not a healer. So that's a dramatic and a very clear way to figure out if you're losing energy or not. But I would say just this kind of like non-specific fatigue that's going on in your life where, it's related to emotions. So you might be going through a lot of stress. But it's a different kind of tired. That's the best way to describe it. It's not just a physical tired. It's something else that maybe you can't put your finger on. So when you start losing energy in that way, it's a sign that you've got to do something about it. So, I started doing some things early on, but the punchline is this: it's best for us all to do some kind of quote unquote spiritual practice. Now, if that sounds daunting, it doesn't have to be. And that's the point. It should not be daunting. It should not be a chore to do. It should not take a lot of thought. It should just basically be a couple of things that you do every day for at least 20 minutes. And there's an old Buddhist saying that I love that is, basically says, take 20 minutes a day to meditate or time for yourself unless you don't have time. Then take an hour. The point being,
that's so true.
You better, if you don't think you have time to do this, you better allot even more time, double and triple the time, because then it can actually protract into something else. There's another saying going on in the healing community that is, if you don't take time for your health today, you're going to take time for your disease later. So it's a
exactly. Later. I think of it the same way. It's like invest in your wellness, or you'll be forced to invest in your illness. It's exactly basically the same concept, Greg.
It is. So anyway, so that's the recommendation is to find. So we'll give you some tips on some of the things that we do. If they don't resonate with you, that's great. Do some research and find out what's best for you. But 20 minutes a day is good, understanding that there's going to be some days that you're not going to be able to do it, and it's not the end of the world. But it does get harder. Like if you string a few days together where you're not doing it, then it kind of it's like exercise. That's what I tell people basically. This is like, this is like exercise for your spirituality. So, people do workouts, people take time to be mindful of your diet and think, people put efforts into different things. This is just another kind of spiritual hygiene. You take time, taking a shower, every day or so forth or whatever, and making yourself look nice. This is basically what you do for your auric field and your energy body. So that's, the recommendation. So Wendy, do you want to talk about in any more detail what you do?
Absolutely. You brought up such great points, Greg. And definitely as a healer, you've got to be sovereign in your energy, as you said, so we don't take on other people's stuff, because then we can't help anyone. And it was kind of the old shaman style of you had to, feel it in your body. But we're fortunate we've got different practices now. And it doesn't mean that we're not empathetic and caring and that sort of thing. But an estimated 20% of the population is either an empath, someone who really can take on other people's stuff, or a highly sensitive person. And you just may not realize you're letting all those monkeys just climb on your back from other people. So you are just getting really, really depleted in something that can be as simple as a conversation, or even walking by a person that you don't know well on the street, in the mall, in a big office building, in a medical complex, whatever it might be. But once you learn how to get your higher self in your body, I think is an important part of it too. So what I do is immediately when I wake up in the morning, put my feet on the side of the bed and just center myself for 15 seconds. And I invite my higher self into my body through my crown chakra at the top of my head. So I just invite my soul into my body, that best part of me, to be really with me for the day. And I just say, it's going to be a great day. I mean, I'm not even awake. I have no idea what's on my calendar for the day, but it's just forming an intent. It's kind of pre-paving your day. And then I go in the bathroom and do that grounding process that I mentioned. And it's just like brushing my teeth. It's just like, combing my hair, taking a shower, as you said, Greg. It's just part of my daily ritual that I really enjoy. And in addition to grounding our energy, it's really helpful if we know how to clear it, because otherwise you can get depleted, like Greg described. And I was in that same situation too. I kind of felt like a balloon with a slow leak. And it was because I just wasn't holding my own energy, and other people were accessing it at times, or I was giving away my energy when I shouldn't be. And again, you don't serve other people if you don't love yourself and take care of yourself first. You just simply can't take care of your family, your friends, whomever. And just many of us are just socialized to be giving, serving. But don't you merit that yourself first? I think that's what this conversation is really about, to declare that you're sovereign and you're only going to carry your own beautiful energy, and that you're willing to ground it and clear it each day, and to raise your vibration to be able to be as healthy and as happy as you can be. And that's how we live our life purpose, as well as take care of ourselves and serve others. So some of the ways that I find to clear my energy, and you can do these things, again, it doesn't need to be more than a couple of minutes a day. Like Greg said, 20 minutes is ideal, whatever it is for you. Some days might be 5 minutes, some days might be an hour. But you can do it literally while you're in the shower. So I just picture my energy being cleansed, and I'll just say, please take any energy that's not mine. Please take any energy that's mine in combination with someone else's. Take any energy that doesn't serve me, doesn't fill my life purpose, and it's just going down the drain. Bye-bye. And just kind of have some sense of humor about it and have some fun with it. So, whether you're taking a physical shower or a physical bath, or what if you're walking outside in the rain? Hey, I live in Washington. That happens a lot. Perfect opportunity. Just, oh, cool. I can clear my energy. Or just when you wash your hands again, you can just picture that, beautiful shower going over your body and cleansing your auric field. And you can either send down your grounding cord, which you don't need anymore, or you can send it up to the light. I tend to be kind of intentional about it. I'll send it one way or the other. I don't just like push it off out into wherever. I'm a little bit more intentional about it. But you'll learn and figure out what's right for you. Because sending it up to light to transmute it is great. And when I send it down to ground it, at the same time I get myself more grounded. Because as I said, otherwise I can be kind of a airy-fairy person. And I got to do practical stuff too. So those are some of the ways I clear my energy. What about you, Gregg? Any additional thoughts on that? Techniques, tips?
Yeah, actually, well, we got a question here from Carla, who asked us, Gregg and Wendy, do each of you have a gatekeepers to keep negative energy from you? Which is an interesting question. So, so I'll answer quickly, and then Wendy, you can answer too if you want.
Sure.
So, yeah. So the question kind of points to, do you ask for help for I assume by what Carla means by gatekeeping is asking for a non-physical being to protect you. So that is something that you can do. And yes. I mean, we just did at the beginning of the session, the protection ritual. I asked for the protection, guidance, and healing from Archangel Michael, Raphael, and Saint Germain. They're very powerful healers. Archangel Michael in particular, it has been around, so he's not just connected to the Christian religion. Archangel Michael is an eternal spirit. Has been around to help. In particular, his one of his main missions is to help with the spiritual protection of humans on Earth. So he's perfectly set up for us. And he's available for us, but only if we ask for his help verbally. So this is something that I've spent years investigating. I have a kinship, some sort of connection with Archangel Michael. Sometimes in the early days when I was doing some kind of reckless healing, where I wasn't doing quite, he wasn't too happy with me. I was doing some entity removals, which can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And I did an entity removal one time, and I forgot to invoke him. I forgot to ask him, invite him to come and look over and provide healing, guidance, and protection for the session. So when the session was over and the entity was removed, to Wendy's point, I also didn't send the entity anywhere, which was really foolish of me. Yeah. So what can happen then, it's like swatting a mosquito. The mosquito can go around and bite somebody else, So this entity that had lodged into a young girl I did the removal on, Archangel Michael came in and just made a dramatic scene and kind of like came down and landed and kind of like shook me up and said, did you forget about me? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you for reminding me. And anyway, he took care of everything. But this is a long answer to Carla's question. Yes, you can invoke guides. I would just make it easy on everybody listening here. It's Archangel Michael's the best one to go to. And so what you do, and there's a couple of things here. The best time to do it. A lot of us have gotten compromised while we're sleeping. That's unfortunately when a lot of these negative beings like to sneak in and do sneak attacks, entanglements or attachments. So, and one thing that Archangel Michael has mentioned to me is when we fall asleep face up, lying on our backs, we're particularly vulnerable to these attacks. I don't know the mechanics of it, but we're just exposed more. So one thing I would recommend is that if you can help it, try not to fall, at least initially falling asleep. It's all right if you're in the middle of sleep and then you wake up and you realize you're on your back. You can't help that. But for some reason, falling asleep in the first half an hour, 20 minutes of sleep where you're, exposed is a vulnerable thing. So you ask for Archangel Michael and just say, it doesn't have to be a big deal. You could, some people say prayers at night. So you just say, Archangel Michael, please protect me while I sleep. That's it. Doesn't, nothing special, nothing, crazy or woo-woo about it. Archangel Michael will come in, and a friend of mine has told me it lasts about 18 hours. So,
wow.
yeah. And he's noticed that. So that's the other thing that I want to point out. It doesn't mean forever, because I've had people listen to my protection ritual and say to me, why don't you just ask for it once, protection forever? Because it just doesn't work. I don't know why, but 18 hours seems to be roughly the limit. So you need to keep, if you're having a particularly hard time with losing energy, or you feel like you have attachments and all that kind of stuff, it's best to ask frequently, at least, every 18 hours. So that's hopefully, Carla, I answered your question. Do you want to add anything to that, Wendy?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. And there's no one answer. It's different for different people. There's some people that feel that they're giving their power away by asking an outside entity, being of light, God, whomever they might be asking, and they feel a need to just say, I'm taking care of myself, it's my higher self. And some relate to it that way, and others relate to Buddha, Archangel Michael, angels, whoever is right for you. You're going to just know in your heart, you're going to naturally. Some relate to ancestors very powerfully, and they're invoking their ancestors to watch over them. Many Native Americans do that. Many shaman do that. It's whatever's right for you. Others relate to totem animals. And as everyone knows, my cat Midnight is just such a protector and energy partner. You've never talked to me on the phone or seen me on camera without Midnight interrupting it, because the minute we began talking about protection, he was downstairs. I had the door closed, and you may have heard him start meowing loudly and run up here.
Walk by earlier.
Yeah, walk by. My Northern Lights turns into this, swishy cattail going across the screen. Because that's his role. It's a big part of his role. He's protected me this entire life. Simply, he's been with me in multiple animal forms. He's been a black cat with me 3 times, dating back to 4th grade. And he was my parents' boxer dog when I was born. He was about 2 years old when I was born, and was my protector, by my crib, by my high chair, wherever I was. That's an important part of his role. And it doesn't mean that, life is doom and gloom and we're being attacked all the time. It's just the best spiritual practices, and it's what you choose to do. It's what is right for you, so that you can feel calm, you can feel peaceful, you can feel that you're able to do your work and live your life purpose. So that's just, how it goes for different people. I do have a guide, and she's a primary guide for me, and it's hysterical because I just went through a change recently, and she came in for me again and said, you need to start working with me in a different way, and I'm going to filter your connection with all the different realms, because recently I've been more working in different dimensions and with different realms, fairy realm, magical realms, dragons, other planets. I'm a pretty eclectic healer and soul. And so what she showed me, she says, I'm going to filter for you. And I said, okay, wonderful. I so appreciate that. I'm so grateful for that. Can you please show me what that looks like? And it was hysterical because she's an ascended master. It's Mary Magdalene. And she's standing there, and she showed her whole body covered with coffee filters. Which took me a minute. I'm like, oh yeah, you're really filtering for me. But that's just the sense of humor of the other side. It can be just so silly like that. It can be like dad jokes. It can be just whatever you relate to. And the next time I went to make iced tea, I realized, oh my gosh, it's the exact kind of coffee filters I use. It's these brown, unbleached compostable filters. And that's what Mary Magdalene was just covering herself in, showing me, just connect through me when I'm doing specific types of work. So
Awesome. So, there's kind of like a spectrum of energy leaks that, we should all be mindful about. And like Wendy said, is, we're not always under constant attack, but I think anybody who's kind of in tune with this stuff starts to realize it's fairly common to have this problem or this challenge to come up. So it's best to do something about it. So I would say it goes all the way down to just the low level type of energy leak where arguments, it's a very physical, very low vibration thing. And, we see it on Facebook all the time. But to this day, I still, if somebody picks a fight with me or something on Facebook, I'm always amazed like how much energy and attention it distracts from what I'm doing. So it's best to try to resolve that. And the first thing that I do is just to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what is it about this conversation that's bothering me? Is it some ego need that I have to prove myself right? Is that what's going on? Because if that's what's going on, I need to, I'll do a little meditation and look at my solar plexus chakra, where kind of your ego energy is taking place. So anyway, so that it goes. These are the more common kind of energy leaks that happen. They can create a bit of a compromised or a hole in your auric field the more that you have them. And then, as an energy worker, when I look at somebody's field, it starts as a hole, but then it starts to look like chunks, where it's what I call a block, and it looks like dark spots in somebody's auric field. And once those start to happen, they can start to turn into physical problems. So it's, I don't want to scare anybody or anything, about all this stuff, but it's just the way it is in terms of your thoughts, your emotions, when they're out of balance, and they can start affecting your energy field, and then your energy field can affect your physical body. So it's just best to be aware of it. It's just like you wouldn't go out there and eat bad foods every day if you really understood, for those of us that understand, if you eat crap food every day, it's going to affect your body in an adverse way. So it's just something like that. But I would say even those who are mindful and have a good spiritual hygiene practice and so forth, just understand that some people are shining so brightly on the energetic side that you're a target to some of these negative beings who want to, don't want the collective energy of the earth to rise into ascension and the beautiful world that we're, paradise on earth that we're trying to create. So, that happens. So it's better for us to understand that they're there, and to not have any fear about it. So I'm starting to see more attachments in people. And I'll just talk a little bit about that. So what is an attachment? It can be anything from a low level, like almost non-intelligent leech-like being that basically is here to feed on what is called loosh energy. It's L-O-O-S-H. It's our emotions of fear, hopelessness, sadness, all the emotions that we don't like. They literally feed on that as food, as energy. So what they do is they come into the auric field, or they come and actually attach like a parasite to our energy bodies, and then they will thwart our daily actions to make us upset. So it will generate these emotions that we don't like. And so I realized I had them before I was anywhere near doing a spiritual practice years ago, decades ago, when I just started to notice everything was going wrong in my life, and it wasn't my fault. I knew it wasn't my fault, to the point where I would wad up a piece of paper and throw it at the garbage can that was only 3 feet away from me, and it would never go in. Like, it wasn't just like, and it would dramatically not go in. And at that point I was like, okay, something is thwarting me. What's going on? And it took me a while to find, finally I found a spiritual worker who helped do the removal. And it was a dramatic, she found a lot actually.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I didn't like hearing it, but she said, you got to protect yourself. Didn't give me a lot of advice on how to do that. So that's why we're doing this today. But I also, unfortunately, there's something that I've noticed recently. It's not always the attachments are coming and attaching in this lifetime. So, as we start to have past lives, or not as we start to have past lives, as we travel through and have more and more lifetimes with this same consciousness, we can have pick up things along the road in other lifetimes, and they come with us. That's the unfortunate thing. So I've been noticing just in the past month an interesting thing that's going on, where doing an energy session, notice that there's attachment. The attachment does not want to leave and is not going to leave. So usually they come off pretty easily. It's not a big deal. And then the guides show, oh, it's an attachment that came from another life. So they show when it happened. It usually happens during some kind of a trauma that usually has caused death. So in this one case recently, I wrote about it on our Facebook page. It was a woman, but she was a man in a life in the 1700s, and she was a soldier, and she got stabbed in the abdomen, and this negative thing came in at that point. So it wasn't just enough to acknowledge this past life thing. This woman, the guide said, this thing's not going to leave until she forgives it. And actually, no, that's forgiving is one thing. They made her say, I love you to this thing. So just one thing to understand: love is the cure-all for all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any fear around this, number one, fear is what feeds them. So you can't, don't have fear about it. Just understand it's an easy solution. You go to the medicine cabinet, love, get a big bottle of love,
right?
pour it all
Because
over this.
Love is the antidote to fear. And when you can tune into and feel that love, there's no room for the fear. So it just pushes it out. I mean, that's what Yeshua ben Joseph knew and modeled so well.
Right. So just to understand, this is, of course, when you're in the mode of doing this and you feel an attachment, or if you're working with somebody who's removing it, what's going to come up? Fear is usually one of the things that comes up.
Sure.
So that will keep it around. So of course, knowing that, then that can make you more fearful. Like, oh my God, I got to stop being fearful, or this thing's going to keep attached, but that makes me scared. So anyway, you relax, you work with somebody hopefully that understands this. And actually the guides were brilliant. The guide said, tell it you love it. And the young woman had a hard time. She's like, I don't love this thing. I'm like, I know, but just understand, you need to mean it. And the first time she said it, it was disingenuous. It didn't do anything. But when she relaxed, and actually the second and third time she said, I love you, I watched it disrupt the energy body of this thing. It was amazing. And then we sent it up to the Creator to be transmuted into love, light, and healing energy. So it was like a recycling of energy. Instead of having it, hang around and cause trouble, it turned into beauty. So it was a very successful. But anyway, I'm starting to notice and see more of this kind of stuff, and it just means things are getting more interesting with the way energy is now. And we just got to be, can't be daunted by any of this. We just got to be aware of it.
I agree, Gregg, and I just want to agree with David's comment that in the Buddhist tradition, we can look at this as being partly also our own stuff, because that's why I clear energy that's not mine, as well as energy that's mine in combination with someone else's, because it can be that triggering. And it's also why I have fun every morning when I'm grounding and clearing. I purposefully open up my heart and I send as much love as I can out into the world, out into the galaxy. And I also send out peace. And that's specific to me because that's one of the reasons I'm here is I'm holding the energy of peace for this planet and for the galaxy. So that's important for me to send out. And I put mirrors around me facing out because that helps me multiply and send that out. And what else do mirrors do? They reflect back appropriately to people what's their own stuff. So those mirrors are also protective for me. And they can also help with, if, like Gregg, you said, the simple example of an argument, whether it's on Facebook or in the real world. And I'm going to give you a tip here, and we all fall into it. Arguing on Facebook is not a technique to raise your vibration. But somehow it seems to, people just like need to be right. And don't we all get into those egoic moments at times? But I just have those beautiful mirrors around me facing out and, multiplying out, sending out that love and that peace. Other people hold justice is a really big issue right now. Racial equality, particularly in the US, that's really, really coming to the forefront, and some other people hold that. So just send more of that out, and more of it's going to come back to you too, and you can get into these awesome infinity loops. But I so agree with the things that you're saying, Gregg. And if you do feel, if you're overly tired and it doesn't make sense because you're taking care of yourself, you're getting 7 to 8 hours sleep or whatever you need, you're eating well, you're exercising, you're not sad or depressed, but you're just like flat as a pancake, you've probably got other energy aboard. And it can be that you're peeling your own onion and you're getting rid of your own older stuff from past lives, or releasing those lower vibration things like David mentioned, of whether it's jealousy or conceit or shame, or lack of forgiveness, or whatever it might be. So again, I just find the grounding and the clearing so helpful, and it allows me to raise my vibration. Some people don't like the term protection because it just makes them, ironically, it puts them more in a fear place. So if it does that for you, you can look at it as raising your vibration. Because that is the best protection there is, in many ways. It's another way to look at it.
We have another question here from Shawnee Jennings, and this is a good one. She says, I have teenagers at home. They are seriously draining. So much drama. Is it possible for me to help them clear their energy so it doesn't affect me so much? So I'm just going to jump in real quick. So,
oh yes, let's have the teenager talk. We can both have that, Gregg.
Right, I have a teenager too. So yeah, what do you do about the drama? So the first thing is to, as much as possible, not get involved in it, because it's not yours. It's not your battle to fight, not your drama to deal with. Now, that said, this is a perfect situation for you to close out your energy. What's yours is yours, what's theirs is theirs. And I would just say this is a good time to do a practice, so where you contain and protect your energy. But creating a boundary is the best advice I would give in a situation where there's constant drama going on. And that's, without knowing, exactly what kind of drama you're talking about, I would just say, create a boundary for yourself and it's all right to show vulnerability, by the way. So sometimes that's easier for people to understand. If you tell them, what, this stuff that's going on or these things you're saying are hurting my feelings. I'd say the average person, once they have respect for you saying that, like, ouch, that hurts. Even little kids in the playground, if another kid comes up and bonks them on the head, if the kid turns around and just looks them in the eye and says, ouch, that hurt me, you hurt me. Most people have this reaction of, oh, I don't want to do that. So creating a boundary where you basically tell them, you know what, this stuff that's going on or these things you're saying are hurting my feelings. I'd say the average person, once they tell the teenagers, you know what, this kind of stuff it's bothering me. It's making me feel bad. So setting that boundary and then doing a practice where you contain your own energy. Other than that, like getting down into the minutia of like, he said, she said, you know, who did this, who needs to get the other person back. None of that is any of your business. You know, I've learned that as a father. It's best to stay out of the minutia and just to set firm boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Wendy? What do you do?
What I learned to do, certainly our children are our greatest teacher many times. I've got two daughters who are now in college. But yes, there were certainly some interesting growth opportunities for all of us along the way. I was a single mom for the long haul. My former husband and I divorced when my daughters were 6 and 8. So we had to become very peaceful co-parents with a 50-50 residential schedule, which you really have to move to a peaceful place to make that work well for the children, and to just keep that the focus. And once I began waking up spiritually, which wasn't until my kids were about 12 and 14, and as I started to learn these practices of grounding and clearing and raising my vibration and meditation, and I told the kids about it, and honestly, neither was interested. It just did not resonate for them. It was not part of their path at that time. So I really had to go through a decision of, is it respectful? Because they've got their free will. And when I would see something that was really problematic for them, and I could sometimes see energetically that they needed an energy clearing, I would say to them, can we clear your energy together? You know, can we do it like just a 2-minute prayer, or can I just put my hand on your shoulder? And they would usually say, no, Mom, that's weird. Was this response my kids gave. But you've just got to be authentic and do what's right for you, and then they've got the option. And over time, while they remain under 18 and full-time in my house, I would say to them, just letting you know, I'm praying for you, I'm working to clear your energy, etc. And they didn't want to hear a lot about it, but they told me, that's okay, Mom. We know that's you showing love, and it seems weird to us and we don't really understand it, but we know you have good intent. So yeah, go for it, Mom, was the answer I started to get. So I would at times, again, they were under 18 and full-time in my house, and there was a level of permission being given through the conversations we were having. So I would clear their energy, particularly my youngest daughter, because she struggled with anxiety and depression, and just had a lot going on in her energy field that wasn't beneficial for her. And when we got to the point where she did need medication for it and was seeing a traditional talk therapist, because that was the path she chose. And again, free will choice. I would just take that medication when it came, and I would ask her, I have a home altar. Is it okay if I put your medication there for 24 hours before you start taking it? And I would always put the new bottle there, because I was concerned about side effects from it. Young growing brain, and here you've got a 17-year-old taking anti-anxiety and anti-depression meds. So those were some of the conversations that we had, and then things like clearing the house, because I do choose to clear my home regularly, and that would be I think a different topic, because I don't want to make this podcast so long that it's not interesting to people. Should be wrapping up soon here. But I would always include, with the permission of the people and my kitty cat, I would always clear the home so it served all who lived here, was the way I worded it. And then when the kids were back and forth to college and, moving in, moving out, and I would say, including those who visit here regularly, to include my daughters, because I wanted the energy to be comfortable and protective for them.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that came up with teens for me.
Great. on the battlefield training in that situation.
Yes.
So, all right, let me see if we have any other questions. I think we can. Yeah, I don't think we have anything. So, thank you all for participating, giving us those are real great questions. Is there anything else you want to talk
I'm
about?
just looking through, there's a few comments in the Zoom chat, so I'm looking through here very quickly. David commenting, meditating almost daily, and having Reiki once or twice a month. Wow. That's
Good idea.
fantastic to just get that, life force energy within you to keep it cleansed and cleared, because yes, we really can get depleted.
Yeah, even
And
as healers, people ask me like, who, I'm coming to you for this, who does it for you? And that's a good question. Wendy and I have worked
exactly.
together, and so it's good to have somebody to help you continue with your spiritual hygiene. So, thanks, David, for
Absolutely.
mentioning that.
Absolutely. And David also mentioned walking daily and just feeling the earth,
Well,
because
yeah,
we've
so
gotten to this place. I mean, the concept of earthing,
yes.
walking barefoot and being able to feel that grass or that sand or, whatever surface, it's a really big deal. Or just, hugging a tree, literally hugging a tree. I tend to get some interesting back pain and hip pain because I've got severe scoliosis, curvature of the spine, and my spine is all fused and I've got a big rod in there. So I'll just go lean against a tree. I always ask the tree permission, and I will ask it, are you able to, take this pain from me? Because it's not serving me. And I just want to be respectful and make sure I'm not going to harm the tree, obviously. And I just pick the biggest, wisest tree and just go, which one in my yard is going to help? And just leaning against it can make a really big difference of just letting go of that pain and saying, I don't need this in my body. This is not instructive. This is not useful. And I just clear it that way.
David's saying, as he's a podiatrist, he's saying, be careful about walking barefoot. But I would just say the
I
grounding,
understand.
yeah, the grounding, actually having, physical contact with the earth is a, it completes an energetic connection with the earth.
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
yeah,
And you've got to choose where's a safe place to walk barefoot, because depending where you live, I literally can't walk barefoot on my own property because I have zero grass. It's all woods, bark chips, or gravel. So there's like nothing comfortable to walk on, but I will sometimes choose a place where I can see that, it's good, clean grass or sand, and I'll stand there barefoot. You can also do it in your socks, and, get that grounding, but getting those shoes away, it can make a difference. It depends on the person. And also comments about asking for God's white light. It's whatever's right for you. I work with color a lot. And Gregg, you're really clairvoyant, so you work with a lot of color. And for me, it comes in as the 7 sacred flames of various colors of those. So I'll put colors around me each morning, just because that helps me put that shielding, that raising that vibration that I need to do. And it changes from day to day. So that's something else you can do.
So I just want to add one other thing, because a couple of things are coming up. I think I'm going to write a quick blog about some suggestions. And Wendy, I'll coordinate with you offline about this, and it'll
Sure.
be available on our website. I've written a blog about Kriya yoga poses. So there's some yoga poses that you can do to protect and clear your energy. Grounding earthing is one, and the other is sun gazing. So just a real quick thing about sun gazing. So you actually stare at the sun for a short period of time in a very controlled way. So I'll give you a quick overview now. You actually make a triangle with your hands, and you look at the sun through. You close one eye, and you look at the sun. And so that basically what this does is it filters out the peripheral beams, which can actually harm your vision. But you only look at the sun for like 12 seconds, 12 to 15 seconds through one eye and then through the other. And what goes on with that is it sends light to your pineal gland. It helps decalcify your pineal gland. We're getting downloads now from the sun. We're getting strong energy. So just understand, you're looking at the sun for 12 seconds in each eye, and you're going to have a bit of a blind spot for the next half an hour, probably. So don't look at it too much, but basically you do your left eye and receive it as a download. You do your right eye and think of something you want to manifest. And then you close your eyes and you just meditate on it. I usually meditate on the shapes that I see that have been caused by looking at the sun. And you just, you sit with that energy, you ask for cleansing, you ask for, the download. So anyway, I'm going to put all this together in a blog so that we'll make it available on our website. We'll share the link on our Facebook page, group page, and I think it could start some great conversation. We'd love to hear from you all about what are some of the things you do in your spiritual practice, if you have one.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. That'll be great. And just a last quick announcement from me. My second book, which is called The Flow One Plymouth Plantation, is going to be 99 cents on Kindle next Sunday for Father's Day, Sunday through Tuesday. So for 3 days. So just FYI for people who haven't read it yet. It's a colonial America story. It's inspired by my own past life. I wrote it as historic fiction. But it is based on my own past life of having come over from England on one of the Mayflower ships, and then made a really interesting choice, which led to my becoming a ghost for several hundred years, and all the things that I learned from that, and what it took to get me from that past life home. So that book will be available on Amazon for just 99 cents.
One thing, Justin Ramdas, was one of the guys who taught me about sun gazing. This is a very, well, I'll say this in the blog, but I'm sorry to interrupt because I wanted to get this in as a correction, because I don't want people to harm themselves by looking at the sun, for instance, at noon.
Perfect.
So there's a time when you do sun gazing. It's 45 minutes after the sun has risen, or 45 minutes prior to sunset. So that's when the sun's at a certain level in the sky. It's easier to look at it without harm. If you do it, at noon, you're going to have a blind spot.
Perfect. Thank you for adding that, because yes, we certainly don't want anyone harming their eyesight, because what an amazing sense that is for us. And I worked in ophthalmology for 3 years. So yes, thank you for adding that.
Yep. Okay.
Well, thank you everyone so much for being here. And this is Wendy Rose Williams, and my website is simply my name, wendyrosewilliams.com. And we'd love to hear suggestions for future podcast topics. So please share those with us and tell us what would be most helpful to you.
Awesome. I'm Gregg Kirk, and my website is greggkirk.com. And we'd love to hear from you all. So please let us know what you'd like to talk about next in about 2 weeks. And like I said, I'll post the link to the blog, and we'll keep the discussion going. And we'd love to hear from you all about new topics and new questions, anything that comes up. So thanks all. Thank you all.
Thank you. And you can find the previous podcasts about spirit guides and about past lives are all on the website at wakingupspiritually.com.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye.